or pre-game stream, I should say. I was watching Double D earlier. I'm getting ready to check and see if he's still on. Double D, are you still on streaming? Nope. Legion of Myth is though. On Sunday. WTF, dude? All right, we got old Muxenmore. Whatever. Whatever. All right, so things going on today. Let's see. Hassan Piker got banned, but it's a 24-hour ban, so basically it doesn't mean anything at all. Which, what do you expect since hey, how you doing, Satya? The guy who is in charge of Twitch is a big Hassan Piker nut rider, so you know. I mean, while I am ostensibly opposed to violence, anything that happens to the Palestinians after the freaking baloney they put on October 7, I'm like, well, I can pray that they, wake the hell up and seek Christ and at least get to go to heaven when they get whacked. But oh no, man, I didn't. I mean, I saw the typo, but dude, I'm not a grammar Yahtzee. You ain't gotta worry about it. Especially the fact that you speak two languages fluently. Shit, who am I to comment on you? I can barely speak my native language correctly. I mean, to be fair, there are 6 or 7 dialects of American, and my dialect is one of the smallest and most obscure. And fortunately for me, I have long since learned to kind of push it down so that I sound like a normal human being most of the time. But yeah, I'll never make it's like I never make fun of Jose if he makes a mistake because it's like, dude, you speak 2 languages. Me making fun of you for mispronouncing something, that is like the height of hypocrisy. That is just stupidity on a level I'm not comfortable with. James Deckard, what's up, homie? So Satya, there you go. You've got my pass. You can screw English up as much as you want. The fact that you speak it enough that me and you can chat and hang out, and you're not even from an English speaking country, to me, it gives you the automatic pass, the free pass. Do whatever. I mean, like I said, I'm from Kentucky and I had to work my ass off to tone my hillbilly down so that people from other parts of the country can understand anything I say. So, like Deckard, where he's from, he speaks an entirely different dialect of English than I normally would. Now, we can understand each other, but we use different words for different things sometimes. And then, of course, as the internet has become a thing, English is starting to get a lot more homogenized. But still, you go up in the mountains or way out in the middle of Texas somewhere, and you're going to run into some words that you're going to be like, if you weren't born there your whole life, you're going to be like, what in the hell is this guy even trying to say? I don't even know. But okay, cool. Yeah, I made a video the other day, which, you know, my brother responded to, but his response was so silly. I need to talk to him because I didn't think about his response being silly until today. And I'll see him in a little bit because we'll be playing our OSC campaign. But it's like, he's like, yeah, to be honest, I like this idea because I'm sick and tired of being dwarves. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, but there's nothing that would prevent you from just picking a dwarf fighter. Because in a fantasy game, you have to have a dwarf fighter represented. I mean, what kind of crazy person would be like, hey, you know, here's all the choices you have to play a fantasy character, but Dwarf Fighter isn't one of them. I mean, that would be like, what? You know, that's just like not believable. Of course, Dwarf Fighter's got to be one of them, which means if Hungar is going to play a Dwarf Fighter, well, he's going to play a Dwarf Fighter. That's just how it is. But what I was talking about is basically taking a bunch of modern figures like this and just putting down office worker or whatever else. And then people could pick the figure they feel the most affinity to, and that would give them the character sheet representing the actual figure. So if she's a citizen that works for a corporation, you would know right away that her skills. Yes, I did catch it, James. I was watching it. Actually, my takeaway from the video, one, we already know that I'm very fond of Double D, but I'm also very fond of Chris Miller. You know what I mean? Chris Miller's just, it's like the more that I see from him, the more I like him. Well, Call of Cthulhu, I would say, Satya, that is a great game for a short campaign. We're talking 1 to maybe 8 total adventures, depending on what you're doing. Castles and Crusades is much like any other fantasy role-playing game based on D&D. You can just go nuts with that for 20 years. And is that Star Wars 20? So like Saga Edition? Some people talk shit. I actually thought Saga Edition was really good. If that's what that is, Saga Edition. Yeah, I am a Saga Edition fanboy. I've got the core book. I've got like the legacy book. I'm an idiot. I didn't buy the Clone Wars book when it came out for 1999. And now it's like hundreds of. Yeah, so Saga is what that is. It's the Star Wars Saga Edition. It's weird too because the books are like a lot longer than they are tall. It's like mine. It's black and it's got like the gold lettering and then like Vader on it. If you want to play a game where the characters can be Jedi, but not dominate the whole game, Saga Edition is really the best edition. Because in if you play like Weston Games D6 Star Wars, don't let Jedi in your game. They will just start doing stupid shit and end up eventually ruining the game. I've had that experience multiple times. Mort Borg is barely a game. I agree. It's a table book that pretends to be a game. Is what Mort Borg is. It's like, hey, check out all of our edgy art and shit like that, and all of our weird layout and stuff. But at the end of the day, you roll like 1d6 and add some numbers to try and do it. I mean, it's like whatever. Yeah, when I got Saga Edition, I bought it when it very first came out, which was lucky for me because now a really good copy of it goes for like hundreds of dollars. However, yeah, trying to lay hands on like the Knights of the Old Republic source book for Saga Edition is like good luck, you know.
In the name of Cain.
In the name of Cain, yeah, the Brotherhood of Nod, actually. Cain is just one part of it.
No, he's the main part. It's all about him.
No, it's about the Brotherhood of Nod. He just happens to be the leader.
He's the Messiah.
I don't think he sees himself as the Messiah.
No, he does. He says that in like what?
Maybe the Antichrist.
He sees himself as the Messiah because he calls himself that. And like Tiberium's son, he's like, you can't kill the Messiah.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that because I literally do not know enough. It's like, I don't know. I don't get into the lore stuff unless it's Tolkien or something like that.
Fair. And
Yes,
Command
the
and Conquer, though,
PDFs.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
He literally just like, at one point, like in the story, like he comes back on the video screen. He was still disfigured, but he was using like a video thing to make it look like he wasn't
I
horribly
mean,
disfigured.
it's he's the Brotherhood of Nod, which is like Cain, and the land of Nod, which is the land of darkness.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
he
there's a
is.
lot of biblical reference there.
Yeah, no, he
Queen
is.
Jade Blue.
They do say that he
Um,
is the Cain of the biblical Cain, which is weird because
damn,
it's spelled differently.
yeah.
Because he uses the Kane,
How are you doing, Queen?
but it's supposed to be like in the Bible, it's Kain, not Kane.
Well, things get spelled weird. Remember that ancient Hebrew, which I've studied, had no vowels.
Yeah, true.
So the word Cain would have spelled with the symbol for C and N, and that would be it.
Yeah, they'd have like little markings for
The
vowels.
markings were a later addition, homie.
Oh, well then, okay then.
Yeah. The
That may get very confusing. I don't get
So
this.
you've got like the T, the two dots, the triangle. I forget the names because it's been like 30 years since I studied Hebrew. And but I do remember, and they do add accent so that you'll know whether something is shay, she, or shy. But that is a new addition to Hebrew.
Okay.
That's something that came about relatively late. Original ancient Hebrew had none of that. So when you would see a word like Abraham, to spell Abraham in Hebrew, take away basically all the vowels.
That would be so confusing. How would you know what they meant?
I don't know. I don't know, honestly. That's why the original Torah was written in Greek.
Ugh.
Because, I mean, Greek at the time the Torah was written was a very, like, the lingua franca of trade and everything. So,
Yeah.
you wrote things in Greek. Um, Also, some things were wrote in Phoenician, which is very similar, it turns out, to Greek. And then Aramaic is kind of like Hebrew, but not.
Well,
So, it's in the same Semitic family, though. So
well, if you
it
want to
just gets weird.
get back to gaming, I had my game yesterday.
Good, good.
My character's starting to heal a little bit.
That's good.
It takes a
I have
long
a
time.
troll that is, for some reason, wearing a pair of pants, and I'm going to paint his pants purple.
That is the Hulk.
That's exactly what I mean. On the face of it's not the Hulk. I mean, it's obviously a
Yeah.
D&D troll. But I'm thinking I'm going to paint those pants purple and see if anybody, besides me, thinks it's funny.
Hulk troll smash.
But yeah, basically, Raggy. I've heard very good things about his business practices. Like he always makes sure that all the people he hires, freelance writing and artists and stuff, get paid before he takes any money. Uh, he also likes to stand around without any clothes on in his sweat lodge.
Deckard, you misspelled it. It's Kane, not Kain.
Well, I mean, I think in the original Hebrew it's Cain.
Yeah, it's Cain, but in Command and Conquer lore, it's Kane.
Hey, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're are we really getting that freaking weirded out about a game that came out in 1980 something?
I like it. I like talking about
Have
it.
to go to sleep, have to wake up early, plant some pine trees. You've been planting a lot of pine trees, bro. Is it like part of your like just doing a solid for future generations or something?
Yeah, my cousin's starting to plant tomatoes and trying to, get them to grow.
Well, tomatoes are easy if you take care of them, but
Yeah.
plant them at the right time of year. But I mean, you
Isn't it
know
a
the
little
old
late
Greek
for that though?
saying,
I'm not sure.
civilization is like when an old man plants an olive tree, knowing that he's never going to get a single olive off that tree.
Yeah, well, I've heard it a different way, like planting a tree knowing you'll never get to lie under the shade of it.
Sit in the shade of it. That's another one. And it's because, yeah, you're doing a good thing because you know that
Somebody else will enjoy it.
future generations will get to enjoy your thing.
Yep.
But oh, so I don't know if you heard there, Leth, but Hassan finally got banned for
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah. Again, it's only
It's
a
like,
day.
get out of here.
Do you really believe that they're gonna ban him for more than any short time ever?
No. What's crazy is the one dude got banned for like a long time for
Yeah.
calling Frogan
That.
uh, a little bit overly done on calories.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It
they
was
had
like
no
a
problem
2 week
banning
ban
him.
with like another 3 weeks of no no advertisement money.
That's what's going to happen to Twitch. If Jeff Bezos ain't paying attention, then he gets what he deserves.
Yep.
Is now that you have I would consider them domestic terrorists, but that's just me.
They are
The
domestic
ADL
terrorists.
going after frickin' these people. And don't get it twisted. I think that the whole pro-Palestinian movement is completely retarded, and I will use the R word on that one.
Everyone's
Own some forest,
kind of
cut
stupid
it
on this.
down, and replant it. Okay, so I got you. That's good. That's what do they call that? You got a name for it.
Yeah, James. I just find everyone in this crazy. One, you don't side with the barbarians, and two, why can't we just deal with things in our own country?
I agree. While I'm not willing to go to war for Israel, I'm also not willing to tell Israel not to bomb Gaza directly back into freaking whatever, because the behaviors that happened on October 7th, I think it was, are unforgivable. Unforgivable by any civilized human being. And that is my opinion on and I've said this multiple times, and I would say this to anybody, Hassan or anybody. Had they went in, took out military targets, kept shit professional, I would have been like, all right, they're fighting a war. I wouldn't have like given a shit really about it, one way or another.
No, they
Whatever,
specifically
it's a war.
target civilians and then hide behind theirs.
Yeah. When you start specifically targeting, sexually assaulting civilians, murdering little kids and shit like that, my sympathy goes right away. Especially because it's not like they were carpet bombing an area from, 50,000 feet. Because if you're going to send Buff the B 52 in at 50,000 feet to carpet bomb a couple square miles of terrain, yeah, you might just kill some, as we would call it. What do they call it when you kill somebody that you didn't mean to?
Collateral damage.
That's collateral damage. But when you look them in the eyes while you're doing it, that's murder.
That's murder.
There's a difference. And so, yeah, the Muslims involved here, they have no sympathy for me. None. None. If Israel, as a matter of fact, I think we should start a new saying: from the river to the sea, Israel must be free. Like flip that Palestine shit right around. From the river to the sea, Israel must be free.
I'd say the only thing I'd agree with is if we just decide to bring back the Crusader states.
See, honestly, I believe Jerusalem should not even be controlled by Jews or Muslims.
Yep, see?
Jerusalem should be an independent state controlled by the church. Point blank. That's what I believe. And I think if you had the church controlling Jerusalem, then Muslims and Jews would be forced to get along with each other and go to their mosques and their synagogues and
back like when the Crusader states existed.
And keep the peace, because you would have a bunch of Christian cops soldiers roaming about, making sure nobody was acting up.
Again, just like the Crusader states.
Right. But
even the Muslims talk
unfortunately,
about
I don't
how they
think
were.
anyone's going to agree with us on this.
You know what? Even in the Muslim text back during the Crusader states, they said, "Oh, actually, things are even better than when the Muslims were in control."
Well, yeah. I mean, granted, we live in an era where the Crusaders are often demonized, despite the fact that they actually unfairly demonized, is what I should say.
Yeah, they were unfairly demonized.
Like, even in the TV or the movie, which I like the movie Kingdom of Heaven, they make it out like
everyone acted
Saladin is
uncharacteristic.
going to let the Christians leave, but in reality, history, he only allowed the Christians to leave that could pay their price to leave, and anyone who had no money become a slave. That's what actually happened.
Yeah, again, there's a few reasons why I don't like Kingdom of Heaven. That's one of
that they
them.
make the Catholic priest the bad guy right off the bat.
Oh, not just that, but everyone in there acted like some kind of atheist in the movie. Like they acted like modernist atheists, like for the Christian side.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, no, these people aren't acting correct.
No. But the scene where Baldwin shows up with the army of Jerusalem was pretty badass.
They also messed up on Ibelin because they made Ibelin from a different area when he was born and raised in the area that they had him in.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Since the mid-late 80s, the West has really gone out of its way, starting at the university level, to demonize the Crusaders, despite the fact that all of the land the Crusaders was fighting over merely 100 years prior had been Christian land. So it's not like they were invading Muslim land. That was Christian land that the Muslims had invaded and forced people to convert by the sword. And somehow the brain dead university students and their professors who were misleading them got the whole thing flipped. So, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. And that, of course, I mean, yes, were atrocities committed on both sides. Why did the crusade even start? Because the Muslims were being dicks and they wouldn't stop raiding European lands and shit like that. Why did the Knights Templars begin? To protect pilgrims on their way to the holy city. Because, Muslims like to ambush caravans of pilgrims and enslave or murder them. It's like, if you actually read the real contemporary history, you realize that everything you've been taught in the modern day is a lie. But yeah, and Hassan, he's like, if they ban me, I'll just go to YouTube. Oh man, that would be hilarious.
YouTube wouldn't wouldn't be. I don't think he would stay long.
Yeah, because his problem on YouTube streaming is he wouldn't be in a hug box with just all the people that agree with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people who don't agree with him would be popping in and they would be talking mad shit. And I don't think the little man could handle it. I mean, he's raised in a millionaire family. He's not used to dealing with any sort of adversity. So, yeah, come to YouTube and see what it's like when your entire chat is flooded with people that just hate you and call you out on everything. And then people like me and, well, priorly Shauner, but other people start reacting to your streams and just effing you up for fun, because that's YouTube. right there. That's how YouTube works. You come on here and start talking that pro Hamas bullshit. See how quick 50 different people are going to be making reactions, calling you a straight up mentally retarded idiot. Plus, he's a Turk. So automatically, I'm like, you're a Turk. Shut up. You know, no one gives a shit what you think. Freaking Turk. You guys enslaved more Africans than anyone in history. You enslaved more of the Balkan people than anyone in history, committed more genocides than anyone in history. And you're not even from Cappadocia. You're from Northeast Asia, like north of Mongolia and that region where the Uyghurs are. You shouldn't even be there. But you're going to. I keep bringing this up. You know, you're going to criticize and talk shit about colonialism, but you're a Turk. It's like, yeah, you should be back in China, being, you know, thrown into a camp or something. Because the Uyghurs are Turks, the ones the Chinese are forcibly re-educating. Yeah, they're Turks. So Hassan Piker looks the way he does because his ancestors essayed so many Balkan women that it literally changed the genetic makeup of the modern Turk from a Asiatic looking man like a Mongol to what you see with Hassan Piker, basically an Indo-European guy. And he's too stupid to even recognize his own culpability here. You agree with me, Queen Jade Blue? Well, cool. I'm glad you do. I don't expect it from anyone. If you want to argue and push back, go ahead. And even though I know we're a little late on the comment, yeah, James Raggi, other than his videos when he's standing naked in his banya, he seems like a good guy. And people who do business with him say he is a good guy to work for. Because if you do art for James Raggi, he will eat the profits of any book he's selling to make sure you get your money, even if it means he makes not a dime on a product. You know,
That's nice.
well, that's just what I've heard about Raggi. He's really conscientious about taking care of subcontractors. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Now, Lamentation of the Flame Princess, the best thing about that game, in my opinion, is the thief skills, which are also an optional rule for old school essentials, where it's all just D6s instead of percentiles. And you can actually adjust them as you level to your taste. That's a good ability. So now I need to paint his hair black. Maybe give him a highlight of Viper green.
And then you got a Troll Hulk.
Yeah, the Troll Hulk. Hulk man. Right? Don't make me angry. I regenerate 3 hit points a round when I'm angry. Trolls do. I know you don't play D&D that much, but yeah.
I knew that they had regenerative abilities.
That's what makes
a lot
them
of fiction
such a
they
pain
do.
in the ass. Is the only thing that can stop them from regenerating is fire and acid.
Yep.
So
I mean, that's one thing Overlord taught me.
yeah, carry some oil. Keep a torch lit. Because if a bunch of trolls come jumping out on you, as long as you got a torch lit and you've got a couple of pints of oil on you, you might be all right. You could at least fight.
I like that episode because Einstein's just like, I just beating up on a filthy troll that was just like bothering him, and he was like, I was hoping for an actual challenge or something interesting. This is boring.
I mean, they're still badasses. They get 3 attacks per round. They a troll can still jack you up even without the regeneration.
But he was well over leveled for that. He was like an ancient lich or something like that.
Well, yeah, obviously then, At that point the troll would be serving him.
Yeah, basically what happened. I think he killed it and just turned it to a zombie.
A zombie troll, that would be interesting. Yeah, I had a DM once. We were playing and we got attacked by a troll. And this freaking troll had a ring of protection from fire. And let me tell you, that made the entire combat a whole different situation.
Probably made it a lot easier.
For who?
Wait, the troll had the ring of
The
fire?
troll had it.
Oh, okay, never mind. It made it easier for the troll.
We didn't have it, and we didn't know he had it. So people
God.
were throwing flaming oil and trying to light him up with all the fire spells, and the troll's just like, yeah, whatever.
You need
Because
acid.
how many D&D groups left, my man, and you guys out there? Because remember, if you're in the stream out there, by all means, shout out whatever weird shit enters your mind. If you
Well, I
want.
mean, if you had an alchemist, this could be okay because maybe he'd have a few
Because
vials of
maybe
acid.
they have acid. That was the point I was going to make. How many D&D characters do you think are walking around with like vials of acid?
Not many. That's the sad
Not
part.
many.
It's usually alchemist fire. People like
Maybe your mage has Melf's acid arrow on standby just cause. Maybe. That's not a guarantee, you know. It's
Nope.
like so.
You gotta get creative then.
That troll basically beat the shit out of us, and we kept like beating it down till it had no hit points,
And
and being like, "Oh, did we kill it?" And then like after a couple rounds, it jumped back up, and we're just like, "What in the f is going on with this beast?" Right? That was the D&D game my wife and I actually met at 20 odd years ago now. So
you gotta just get creative. If you can't beat it, maybe find a way to knock it out or something, and then run away.
we kept beating it until it would pass out. And eventually, I believe it is my current wife, the one that I met there, that we beat it unconscious, and she searched it and found it was wearing a ring.
So you found the ring, and then
And then
finished it off.
after she pulled the ring off of it, it was like, now we're cooking with Crisco, you know, and we burn it up. But is like we would beat it down, it would be on the ground dead, then it would regenerate, pop back up. We must have fought the same exact troll like 5 times.
You needed a thief so he could steal the ring before it could do that.
Well, I mean, we couldn't see. I mean, you know what the odds are of seeing a little band on a troll's finger while it's trying to rip your esophagus out?
Very hard,
Not
I
great,
know.
you know. Not great. Not great.
It finally happened, but it took you a while.
Yeah, we had to beat the troll to like way below 0 hit points, because while it was laying on the ground under 0 hit points, I was just standing there with a great sword just freaking waylaying it, right, to counteract its healing. And then the cleric decided to search it out and found it had the ring. And we're like, oh, okay. She pulled the ring off of it, and all of a sudden fire started working, and we were like, well, there you go, right?
Well,
But
with my last game,
later on tonight, before I go to bed, after the game though, I will probably click on to Asmongold and see what he's got to say about all this. And if Nuxanor has made a video, I'll check that out too. But,
yeah.
I mean, Twitch, I've added Twitch to the stream again because I went a long time without adding Twitch to my stream. And the reason is because 90% of Twitch are idiots. I hate to say it. It's just a fact. It's like so many people on Twitch are just.
Yeah, Twitch is
It's
not
not
worth
even.
clicking
I'm not
onto.
even saying they're low IQ or dumb. They're just ideologically captured to one way or another, and they're not worth talking to, because how do you talk to somebody that's completely convinced that they're good, you're evil, and that's just the end all be all of the whole situation, you know?
You don't,
Like,
and the problem was that they would constantly spam the chat.
Oh, then they start spamming. But even if they don't spam with the, hey, you want members? No, I don't. Um, it's just, it's like people on Twitch are worse than even old Tumblr people are. You know, they like, and the way they are, it's like, you're not allowed to, you can be a hardcore ideologue of whichever brand we're talking about here. Typically, it's leftists, like, you know, Hamas Spiker or whatever. And if you say even one thing at any time that might lead somebody to think that you have an opinion other than the pre-prescribed opinion, they will turn on you like rabid dogs. And it's just like, I don't understand why anybody would want to be a part of that if you want to call it a community. Seems more like a struggle session to me. It's like, you know, if you don't agree with me 100% of the time, then obviously you're a horrible human being and I should be able to try to wreck your entire life. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to be, you know. Now, are there good people on Twitch? Obviously. I mean, the number one Twitch streamer is Asmongold. So right there, that should tell you that there are at least some people on Twitch that aren't completely. And I would consider Asmongold, especially compared to a lot of my personal beliefs,
Very lefty.
Asmongold is left. He is
Oh, no.
leftist for
You
sure.
know, Hassan basically made him say a lot of crazy things just to say, "Oh, I'm not right wing."
Yeah, but Asmongold has never been like a
I
hardcore
know,
right wing guy. He's
I know,
always
but you
been.
never should give your opponent points. You know,
Well,
this is
yeah,
just
don't
playing
don't
into
let
him.
your opponent force you to say things. Like if your opponent accuses you of something, don't like be like, nah, nah, I'm not. If somebody calls me right wing, I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea, Buckaroo, how right wing I actually am. I am very right wing, anti-war, obviously. I'm kind of a peacenik in that way, but what most people consider right wing is 100% me. I am a conservative Christian and American cultural nationalist. I won't say I'm a race nationalist because I'm not, but I am a cultural nationalist. And what that means is a black dude who believes like in nationalism and America first and stuff like that, like I do, is way more my brother than some spaghetti necked freaking liberal white guy.
Yeah,
Because, in my opinion, it's not about race, it's about culture.
true.
You know what I mean?
I had to, explain that to one of my friends before.
Yeah, it's not about
He was like,
race.
he,
You
he
can
was
have
one of
basic.
those racial nationalists. I'm like, okay, what do I have in common? More in common with a Southern black guy who's a Christian, or I don't know, a California liberal who goes to college. I don't know.
And is probably a Marxist,
Yeah, and who's a Marxist.
right? That's what you. I mean, whenever I see those guys, and I used to see them a lot when I was in that scene back in the '90s with their red laces or white laces and stuff, and it's just like, okay, race realism, sure, fine, whatever. You can believe whatever you want. But like you said, Leth, you said it beautifully. Everyone in the whole world should listen to what you just said. It's like who do I have more in common with? A guy from freaking Lexington, Kentucky that happens to be Sikh, but grew up in Kentucky and loves America and went to U of K, and or a commie in California, even if he does have blonde hair and he's a surfer dude.
I wouldn't have any.
Obviously, it's the Sikh guy, right? I mean,
I wouldn't have anything in common with my surfer dude in the first place.
well, I mean, I used to kind of be a surfer dude for about 2 seconds. Not that I
I
ever surfed because I'm afraid of going in the ocean. But I did wear Ocean Pacific, and
I never had that chance or possibility. I lived inland, so no ocean to surf in,
yeah,
nor
when I visited
culture like
Florida,
that.
and my mom always wanted me to have like, my mom would save up every nickel she had that she didn't need for like food and stuff, which our food was super cheap since all we ate was beans and cornbread anyway. But then when it came time to buy Christmas clothes, or not school clothes, uh, me and my siblings, we always got like the cool stuff, Ocean Pacific and freaking, the name brand jeans and shit.
For us,
Even if
the
we were
thing
eating cornbread and beans every day. And my
for us it
mom,
was fried chicken, just constantly all day, pretty much every day.
fried chicken was a real treat for us. That was like a every other week on payday kind of thing.
Well, when I was growing up, chicken was very, very cheap, just like absurdly cheap.
Yeah, us, it was beans, greens, cornbread, and then occasionally meat of some sort. And I had a grandma who fried everything and a grandma who boiled everything. So that was kind of the thing. So yeah, like I said, I was probably 14 when I had my first pizza, like real pizza, and that was when I went up north with
I don't
with
know
the
what
boss.
you'd exactly consider real pizza. I'm guessing I never had it.
Um, the first pizza I ever had when I was like 11 or 12, my mom made from one of those Chef Boyardee box sets. The ones you bought and it came with everything to make a pizza, but not really. You're just kind of making a tomato pie with a little bit of
I don't think they had those when I was young.
um yeah, they had them when I was young, and I'm what, 20 years older than you. So
Yeah, I don't know. We never got them then. We'd
next time you
usually
go
get
to
like
Kroger's,
Tony's.
the next time you go to Kroger's, when you're in the Italian food aisle, just look to see if you find a Chef Boyardee pizza kit,
Kroger's.
and it's a box about
You don't
yay
usually
big.
go to Kroger's.
Okay, whatever you go to, Piggly Wiggly, I don't know,
Yeah,
Roses, freaking the mom and pop down the street. If they have an Italian aisle, there will be a pizza kit there because I looked at one 2 days ago. They still
well,
exist.
okay, then fair enough.
And it
Although
has
we
like the
we now
mix
order
that
our
makes the
food.
crust, and then it has the tomato sauce in a little can, and it has like some cheese, but it's not like mozzarella cheese, it's like Parmesan cheese.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
And you just make it in a square pan and put it in the oven and let it bake, and then that's pizza, you know. Chef Boyardee pizza stuff all the time. See, there you go.
Yeah, we'd usually get Tony's or what was it, Tostinos?
Okay, so you were ordering
Postmates.
oven pizzas.
Yep.
Oven pizza, I don't know if that existed when I was like 10.
Hmm.
But Chef Boyardee was
Oh, I
kind of,
think the best one we usually get was Red Baron's
yeah.
or the
See, I
frozen
don't
pizzas.
remember there being a lot of takeaway, like buy frozen pizza when I was young. But Chef Boyardee had pizza kits and all kinds of shit like that. How you doing, by the way, RPG Dad? Dadding it up, RPGing it up, little both. Some from column A, some from column B. I'm going to put the link back in just in case.
Yeah, if you want to get back to D&D stuff or gaming
We
stuff,
can. We can.
our group has just played yesterday, and it was pretty interesting. My character got a little bit of lore stuff going through because we found this like mage guy who was willing to talk to us. Sent me to a dwarven cave with like paintings or pictures of these like giants. So we got a bit of lore dump on that.
Hmm. My group is trying to basically, I think they have decided that they're never going back in the dungeon I was running. Dinner with the family, awesome, bro.
Yeah,
I
I
kind
remember
of
you
got
talking
dinner
about
with
that.
the family, but my
already had
dinner
that.
with the family is I have all my gamer friends coming over tonight, and my wife a lot of times will fix some relatively simple dinner. Sometimes she goes all out though,
Ooh,
and then
talking
we
about
all
that.
eat and hang out and bullshit around, and then we play D&D until everybody's tired. What?
Apparently,
My wife is like a ninja. I've never dealt with any human being who is so soft-footed. She
you
likes
need
to
to put
say
a bell
she's
on
an
her.
elf because her family's Denmark. That's
You need
where
to
they're
put a
from.
bell on her.
She could be a halfling though if she's a little shorter, because she's definitely slick. You've got to add some extra ingredients to that Chef Boyardee. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Now my wife, like a month
Hey, Shark.
ago, for the game group, found a recipe to make school pizza from like 1970 or some shit.
Talking
It was
about that, actually, James, our school actually had some pretty good cafeteria food. I don't know what they did, but our cafeteria workers were miracle workers on that.
when I went to school in Kentucky, our cafeteria was like Shoney's. Like
I
you
wish.
got a tray and all the food was served in actual real
Oh man,
containers, and you got actual silverware,
you look.
and they
You're
served
lucky.
real food like baked chicken and mashed potatoes. And
Oh man, that sounds great. We still got what most schools get anymore, but I don't know. It's really good for what they did because I mean seriously, if it wasn't for those cafeteria workers, that food would probably be just atrociously bad.
how are you doing, RPG Dad? What's up?
Oh,
And
not
welcome
bad.
to, I don't know if this is your first time on, but welcome.
No, this is not my first time.
No, I don't remember them being on like a
Well, it's
couple of
No, a
still
times.
couple more
welcome,
times.
whether it is or not.
No, I'm a little concert hungover.
Concert? Oh yeah, you did say you were going to see what? Perfect Circle, right?
Yeah, Perfect Circle, Primus, and Pussifer.
Oh yeah. See, the last one I've never even heard of, but the other ones I of course have. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
and I've seen Perfect Circle, but that was back in that was the first Earth Day birthday in Orlando.
I've never been to a concert.
Perfect
Yeah.
Circle. It's I think the guy from Tools kind of side
Yeah,
project.
it's the lead singer from Tool.
Yeah, what's his name? Maynard.
Yeah, Maynard James Keenan.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him. I do know I like Tool. I mean,
Yeah, it's my
uh,
second time seeing a Perfect Circle. So
yeah, whichever album it was that came out that had like Sober and Stink Fist and all that shit on
oh
it.
yeah, that was the Undertow album for Tool. Yeah, that was the
That
first
was
time.
like, oh my God, mind blowing back in the mid 90s, I think, when that came out.
Yeah.
Because it was just so unlike everything. This guy, and like, 46 and 2, one of my favorite songs of all
Oh yeah.
time, still. Uh, you know, he just goes off digging through my muscles,
Oh yeah.
looking for a clue. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't sing like him, but
Yeah,
I
the
don't know how many.
colleges seem to have like actual like restaurants that you can go to on
hey,
campus.
we're talking about Tool now.
Sorry, Shark was talking about it. I couldn't help it.
My
We're talking
university
about the
provided
Tool.
a dozen different. I went to college, Shark, for about a month.
I didn't, but I did like tour college before, and they
So
had
I
like
am
subway
kind
and
of
stuff
that
like
guy
that.
that completely ruined my GI Bill.
Yeah, I tried college. It didn't stick.
Yeah, I got out of the army. I'm like, I got this GI Bill, and this is back when the GI Bill was badass, like in the mid
Actually,
'90s.
funnily
And I'm
enough,
like, I'm going to go to college, and I was sitting there listening, and I was like, yeah, no.
I
And
had
then
actually
it
had to go
becomes
to
a
DECA
conspiracy.
for a competition or I had to go to WKU for a DECA competition.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I came in second.
Yeah, no, me, I realized very quick that I should have known because I skipped about 60 days in high school. The only reason I passed is because, the same reason people who can't read end up in Harvard. Plus, I never scored less than like an A or an A plus on every written test that I showed up and took, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got 20-something-year-old me got out because after I got out of the army, I kind of jumped hardcore into the goth scene, goth industrial. So I already had naturally black hair, but I had this pierced. I was wearing all black leather jackets and shit. And I'm hanging out in university and I'm just like falling asleep and just being like, I sucked at high school. What made me think that I could go to college?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I just went out and got a job making a shit ton of money because construction in Florida pays very well.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, after many years and a lot of shenanigans, ended up getting into the fire academy.
Yeah.
Which that I love because you did have classroom days, but for every classroom day, there was like an outside, effing around doing something stupid shit day,
Yeah.
So you never got bored because one day you might be studying the human circulatory system for EMT, but then the next day you're going into a smoked out building and crawling around trying to find something. So,
yeah.
That was perfect for me. That was 100% just what I needed. Tried going back to school after the kids were born. Yeah, it gets harder and harder, man.
Yeah, it does.
If you don't go to college immediately after high school, it's just like, ugh.
I wouldn't even recommend going to college unless you're doing something very important.
College is still good. It just, you got to take the right classes. That's all.
I know, but that's just it. Most people don't even need to go to college for what they probably want to do.
Yeah, my wife went and she got an associate's for like medical billing and stuff like that. But then when the Obama era changed everything, and so that associate's degree was useless. But it has applied to my wife taking classes now because after substitute teaching, she decided she wanted to go into elementary education.
Nice.
So she's so now she's like halfway to a bachelor's degree.
Good. I am, I think, 1 or 2 credits away from associate in science.
Yeah.
And I've never took it. And here's what's stupid is I could take it online.
Yeah.
But I'm like, who cares? And the main reason is because if you graduate paramedic school in Florida, you can then do paperwork, and the paramedic school counts as like a shit ton of credits towards an associate in science in emergency management or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up having to take like 1 or 2 classes and you get your associate in science, which doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. It's like a dead end associate's degree. But you could say, I've got associate's degree. But...
Hey, Bear.
Bear.
Bear's here. Let's talk about Nickelback.
No. Sure. What would you like to say about them?
I love them. They're the
cool,
best.
Good for you. You're allowed to love what you love.
Canadians kick ass, especially Nickelback, and the group that did "If I Had $1 Million."
Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah. But also Red Rider, Lunatic Fringe, one of the great
Red Rider, yeah. Leth, I got bad news for you. I'm Gen X. You can like whatever the fuck you like, and I can dislike whatever I like, and sometimes they'll be the same thing, and that's okay. We can still be friends.
I know.
I know. Leth just likes to be part of the show, and I like that because
millennials just like to stir up shit.
I'm kind of that.
Well, it is fun to cause a little bit of chaos.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It might be a Kentucky thing, and maybe I outgrew it because Hungar's the same way. You let Hungar into a stream, and whatever you thought you were going to talk about, it's not happening. Yeah.
Well, I just think of it same way Knox does.
Dead ends too. Yeah.
Never.
No, if you're going to go to college in the modern day, either you're super genius and you take some sort of engineering degree, or just get a medical degree. And it's okay if you stop at like RN or PA, because those dudes make $100,000 a year. Tom Cochran last year, excellent live. Yeah, that guy kicks ass. I love Tom Cochran's stuff. Yeah, Nickelback is the greatest rock band because they're inoffensive. So even people who don't like them don't immediately leap at the radio station to change it when they come on. It's more like, I'm driving, Nickelback comes on, you can put up with 2 minutes of Nickelback. Who cares, right? Whereas I personally, I love their first album. I thought it was great. Enjoyed University. Got a history degree specializing in ancient and medieval history. Oh, you said something yesterday I wanted to call you out on, though, Shark. You know I love you, but when you said something about eating green berets for breakfast, yeah, I'm going to call your full shit on that. Everybody knows the Green Berets are the best soldiers in the United States military, bar none. And that is, I say that 10 toes down. That's the hill I will die on. I know you're a Marine. I love my Marines. I'm a little jealous of your uniforms because your dress uniforms are super nice and ours look like McDonald's workers. But let's be honest. If you get through the year plus training and you're one of the 1% of applicants that get the Green Beret, you are a special human being. Anybody can join the Marine Corps and even join and say, I want to be a sniper. And they'll send your ass. You can't just join the Green Beret. You got to have 3 years in, immaculate PT, no bullshit, and then pass the pre-Q just to go to the actual pre-Q where, 70% of you are going to dump out. Then go to Q course, which is a year, and 97% of you will dump out of Q course. Just so you can be one of the 3% to get that Green Beret with deliver oppresso on it, which, for those of you who don't speak Latin, to liberate the oppressed, because apparently that's their thing. It's like all my Ranger buddies, they had their a sua sponte tattoos, which means of our own accord. And my units was Pro Patria Vigilans, which is like forever vigilant. So, because, Army units, we all have like Latin sayings. Whereas the British, they're cool because their badass units just like he who dares wins. Straightforward. They're not even effing around. He who dares wins. Get out there and do it. I actually watched a thing. Bear won't be interested. But apparently some SAS guys got kidnapped in the Middle East somewhere. And the British government told the commandos, hey, leave that shit alone, whatever. And the commandos are like, nope. Of their own accord, they went in there and wiped those dudes out and got their boys back. Yeah, in Commando, he might have said that, but that's a movie. That's not real life. But also, it's a difference in jobs, too. Marines, they do hard shit. Rangers get airdropped right into the middle of the enemy. SEALs assassinate people and blow shit up. And then Green Berets go in small teams, contact the natives of the region, train them to become an army to fight whoever they're fighting, and then lead them into battle.
Are we forgetting about Delta Force?
Well, Delta Force is its own thing, man. We don't even talk about Delta Force. Nobody even knows what they really do. Because everything they do is so top secret. It's like,
yeah.
Have you heard how the suppressors might be off the NFA soon?
I know this. When you're at Fort Stewart and you go into the PX and there's a guy walking around PX in khakis with a big ass beard and sunglasses on, aviators and shit. Yeah, he's probably Delta because there's a little Delta camp at Fort Stewart, and it's all like 12-foot barbed wire and concertina wire and shit like that. But every now and then you'll see one out and about. I mean, yeah, the guy in the military gear with the fucking giant beard and the aviators, and they all wear khaki pants for some reason. They're always wearing like these. They're tactical pants, but they're khaki colored instead of camo or whatever. Those are some wild dudes. Those are the dudes that get sent into like suicide missions and shit. But yeah, I watched Double D's thing though to answer the question. And Chris Miller made some great points. I like Chris Miller. I really do wish he would finally do the Kiev and Rust's expansion for Baptism of Fire. But apparently they're working on other things right now. So you can't always get what you want. And the guy over at the Gaming Gang, yeah, I mean, whatever, man. I haven't thought of him until I watched the stream today, and then I thought of him again because that's how I am. If the person doesn't matter to me, I'm all like, they don't live in my head, unless I'm talking specifically about it. And that guy has no real stake in my head. It's like if I see him, I'm like, yeah, that guy's douche. And if I don't see him, I never think about him because.
Who are we talking about?
The guy at the Ryan McElleary or something at the Gaming Gang.
Troy.
Him and Double D are fighting because Double D put out his video saying that D&D had went woke, and McAleer had put videos saying D&D is not woke, which is, And so drama ensued. Except McAleer refused to. It's like, is Double D McAleer's Voldemort? Like he who should never be named? Because he didn't name him. And that actually made me have less respect for him, have less respect. Because if I'm going to call somebody out, I will call them out by name.
That's like how Hassan does not.
Or whatever. Yamas joined the Army to be a Ranger. Decided to join the Marine Corps in the end, probably because you saw the Army uniforms, dress uniforms, and the Marine uniforms. And you're all like, yeah, no. I'm going for that dress blue with the stripe and the saber and that badass hat. Like screw that Ronald McDonald hat that they forced, the garrison cap as we called it, but because I was in before they switched everyone to berets, which I disagree with. Because when I was in, if you had a beret, it meant something. Like if you saw a guy with a black beret or a red beret or a green beret, that shit meant something, right?
Until
now, every swinging whatever in the Army gets a black beret.
Yeah, it meant something until some guy in the some high up guy in the Army is like, why don't we have berets? We want berets.
That's probably what it is. They probably promoted some rear echelon freaking logistics officer or some shit. Not that you don't need those guys because you can't fight without them, but you get what I'm saying, right? And that guy's like, I want a beret. He's like, well, I'm sorry, you should have joined the Ranger Bats or something. You would have got your little black beret. They would have PT'd you every day like you're in basic training for 10 years.
I could have seen it being Army generals, just like, Army cool, Army need beret.
But there's nothing really cool about it. If they wanted the Army to be cool, they would have went to the World War II uniforms. The khaki with the officer hat,
I get it,
with
but
the big Army DOD thing on the front. You'd look like an Imperial Guard freaking commissar. I mean, that would have been cool. If, in my opinion, if you wanted the Army to have a really cool dress uniform, you would have given them like blue Civil War era type uniforms. Let's go back in history, man. Let's have a dude showing up to formation in their blue shell coats with their baby blue pants and their little forage hat with the bugle on it. If you're infantry, you get the bugle. I mean, that shit would have been badass.
I've seen how the military's higher ups are like, and I didn't like it. It feels like they've been, promoted just because they knew somebody. It was all seemed nepotism.
It is, because in the Army, at least, if you're an officer and you flub one of your monthly reviews, you're done. You'll never go above major. Because every month in the Army, they do this review. But the main thing you got to look at is there's like a triangle of little stick figure soldiers. And if they don't circle the top one, you're done. Because the top one means you exceed,
Like there was that one general who went on CNN, barely knew how to use a rifle.
Yeah, the pogs, don't you dare. Yeah, like the Navy's even stupider. When they decided that they would get rid of their dungarees and their freaking work shirts and get like blue camo pattern fatigues. It's like, who are you fighting?
Who are you hiding
from?
Who are you hiding from? The water? Like sharks? What?
Yeah, it's like,
we gotta hide for Poseidon.
Have poo?
What?
Oh, frog poo? Well, frogs gonna poo. They eat the bugs, they do the poo. Yeah, Shark. If you look at the new Army, everyone gets a black beret. Rangers get a sand khaki colored beret. And then your airborne keep their crimson beret. And then, of course, green berets, which I was in the Army for like the 4 years. I think I seen one green beret ever. So, I mean, it's not like you see those guys ever. But Fort Stewart, a couple miles down the way, is Hunter Army Airfield. And that's 3rd Battalion, 75th Infantry Rangers. So we seen Rangers all the time. And we wore in our dress uniform, our stupid little green uniform, and that freaking garrison cap with our little pin on the side. Is it the best? No, it's not the best, but I mean, whatever, who cares? The blue camo does help during firefighting operations. Yeah, I mean, I can make fun of the Navy because my nephew's an officer in the Navy. And even he's like, fortunately, he never has to wear those blue fatigues because he's an officer in the Navy. So they have their own work uniform that's like either white or khaki or whatever,
I think I'm going to head off, though. I'll see ya.
See you, left. Yeah, it's starting to storm here, so if I start acting up, that's what's going on. But
oh, is that what it is?
But
sure. Yeah.
And he don't really have to do anything anyway, since he's in charge of all of the petty officers that run the nuclear reactor. So his whole job is basically signing off on paperwork that goes up to another guy who gets to read it and sign off on it. And then when they send down work orders like, hey, what's going on over here? His job is to get with the petty officers and figure out how to fix the thing. He is super happy, though, that he only has to share his living quarters with one other guy who is also an officer. And he gets 1 by 2 cubic feet or some shit of storage area that he can keep personal things in, like a laptop or a book or something. But they're never allowed to have the laptops on because they're on a nuclear submarine.
Yeah.
Last thing they want is some bad guy to be like, hey, we got ping out here in the Atlantic. What's up? Remember when that happened in Ukraine when all those Redditors went over to join the Ukrainian army and they were like sending Tumblr messages home and the Russians zeroed in on that shit and artilleried them? Like, that's the end of the Redditor brigade. Like, one vicious, note to self, when you're in a combat zone, do not wave a big flag saying, I'm over here. Because somebody will get you. Devil Dog. How are you? Frying up some bacon. Another black cat. Black cats are cool, though. I don't know why they got a bad rep, honestly. That's got to be after like Egypt, because the Egyptians loved their black cats. And
I love my black cat until he decides to try to eat my food.
here's the thing I don't get, and I don't know if it's Scots Irish or what it's from, but so many people in Eastern Kentucky area, hillbillies and shit like that, absolutely hate cats. It's like, and they'll kill them even just if they catch them out. And it's like, you know, and I'm like on my farm, we had like 17 of the little bastards. They all lived in the barn and ate rats, you know?
Oh, yeah, my great-grandfather used to shoot the neighborhood cats because they would poop in my grandma's garden, my great-grandma's garden.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's like a type of hillbilly that has a real hate on for cats.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's some kind of weird superstition they're still working through.
I guess. I don't know. I never asked my great-grandmother about it when she was alive, as she didn't like cats very much. And yeah, and they were both from Kentucky. So
same thing. I mean, you know where I'm originally from, and yeah, it's like a lot of people I knew hated them, but not, you know, my grandparents on the farm kept them because they ate rats.
yeah.
But you didn't let them in the house or anything. You might pet them when you're out in the barn throwing hay or something, but
Yeah.
But I mean, they were definitely like work dogs, you know. They were there for a purpose. They knew what their job was.
Yeah.
You know, eat every other critter you can find. That was their job. Yes, I agree so much, Daryl. Benning got its name back. I think they're going to get Bragg its name back. Stewart will get its name back. I mean, that renaming everything bullshit. It's like, it's kind of like we're going to get Columbus Day back instead of National Indigenous Peoples Day, because, you know, changing it from Columbus Day to National Indigenous Peoples Day was stupid. We're getting Mount McKinley back instead of whatever the hell they called that. Rastasha Mountain or some shit.
I didn't know they even changed that.
They did. And it was all like this big circle jerk where they were running around trying to make what the Canadians would call First Nations people feel better about life.
I appreciate the attempt to include me in this conversation.
Right. But, you know, Orange Man was like, no, we're not going to change American history just because a bunch of wackadoos. Yeah, Mount Denali. You know, they're like, a bunch of wackadoos may not like it, but it's been this way for 200 years. We're not changing it, you know. And I agree, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Bear, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm making my supper, so you guys go talk about all the crazy war shit you want. It's Memorial Day weekend. I understand. You all got a big heart on right now. I get it.
Memorial weekend, you get together with your friends, you cook some hot dogs and hamburgers. If you got a pool, you hang out in the pool. If you don't got a pool, you play some bocce ball or maybe some volleyball, something like that. You know,
That's cool.
It's a cool holiday and all, but it's like I've never seen anybody get like super stoked, like, oh my God. You know.
Oh God, I'm gonna get puppy molested here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, gee, poor you. There are worse ways to be molested, brother.
Oh, come here.
Jeff Uppers. No, Jeff Uppers.
He's like, I love you, Daddy. Oh, look at that. Is that that's a golden, right?
No, I'm just on call. No, she's just
Looks like a golden retriever.
She's half golden retriever.
Did somebody just quack at me?
Nope. No, that's my oldest.
Well, cool.
I see that. That's my oldest boy.
My oldest is 30-something years old and got 5 kids.
Oh, I ain't that far yet. God.
And then my youngest is like 30 years old and it's got 2.
Oh, he's such a pistol of a puppy.
I'll tell you what. To quote Starship Troopers, we're doing our part.
Yeah, I'm hopefully years away from seeing grandchildren.
Well, let's
Oh, I've already got one that's 10 years old. Because, you know, Eastern Kentucky, I mean, if a woman hasn't had at least a kid by the time she's 18 or 19, you kind of look at her side-eyed like, what are you doing with your life?
Was that a lab Irish Retriever mix?
No,
Irish Setter, sorry.
Dad was Golden Retriever. Mom was a mix of German Shepherd, Husky, and Wolf mix.
Weird.
Yeah.
Pretty, though.
I've seen Golden Retriever Irish Setter mixes, and they look a lot like that.
It's a pretty boy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
I
treat.
can't call my boy because the wife's in the living room, and my boy will be in there guarding her from invisible monsters or something. The only time you ever see my boy is when the wife has gone to the store or something. Then he'll come in and sit on me because he's like confused about life, doesn't know what to do with himself. You know?
Yeah. My wild cat stuck in the house.
Yeah, my dog is practically a cat.
Here, just sharing an image so you can take a look. They call them Golden Irish, or there's another name for them. I can't remember the other one.
Golden Irish sounds like some kind of drink that I would.
It's actually a really, really cute dog.
Aww. Well, anything that's half golden retriever is going to be pretty. I don't know what it is. Golden
And there's
retriever.
there's the Irish Setter Derp Tongue, so that's awesome.
The dirt.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I am a huge fan of golden retrievers. They're a little big for me at this age. I've got like my little 15-pound palm, but
The other name is Irish Retriever, so it's golden Irish or Irish Retriever.
Oh, don't tell my son that. He'll be like, we want one.
Because the setter's got all the personality, right? They're dumb as fuck, but they got all the personality, and the retriever gives them the brains. You know what I mean?
So maybe hopefully you end up with a dog that gets the best of both worlds and not a dog that got the worst of both worlds. And it's just dumb as shit.
Well, it's funny is all her litter mates all went white, like their mom.
Oh yeah.
Really?
They lost the color.
See, my palm, which I've probably told you a million times, its dad and mom and all of its litter mates, none of them got above 7 pounds.
Really?
He got 15.
Mine was the
instead
runt.
of being that reddish brown a lot of Pomeranians are, he went white. But he's got a little bit of that. And it's like I said, it's a genetic thing because the original Pomeranian from hundreds of years ago was a 50-pound sled dog. And they just bred them down to these lap dogs. And somehow, this is something I'm not smart enough to figure out. All the big ones died out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, did somebody just go around one day and be like, give me all the big palms, I'm going to shoot them?
Yeah.
You would think that both could exist, but somehow, no.
Who knows?
And if you want to blame someone, it's the same person you can blame for World War II and I. Queen Victoria. She's the one that decided she wanted the Pomeranian to be a lap dog. And the reason I say you could blame her for World War I is like everyone involved in World War I was like her grandchild.
Yeah.
Like the Kaiser, Tsar Nicholas, King George, like literally they were all her grandchildren because she had like 12 kids.
Yeah.
With her first cousin, Prince Albert.
Yeah.
They were English royalty, even though they were both German.
Yeah. Oh,
So basically, it boils down to that great line from Blackadder goes forth. Look, I'm as British as Queen Victoria. So your father's a German, you're half German, and you married a German.
Yeah, basically.
Boom.
Yep.
Well, you know, the Georges, I don't know if you know anything about British history, but George I didn't even speak English.
No.
He was a German noble that got brought in to be the King of England because he was a Protestant. That was the reason. The only other person that had a claim was Catholic. And they did not want a Catholic on the throne. So they brought in George I He was 100% German, didn't even speak English. So basically, the cabinet ran the show the whole time he was the king, because he would just sit there and be like, yeah. He had no idea what the hell was going on. And then his son, of course, grew up to hate him. And then his son grew up to be crazy, but reigned for 70 years. And then that one's son is the one that lost America.
Yeah.
The regent king, as they call it. Had several labs, sharp as razors, constantly funny. Yeah. Yeah, labs are good dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Also, Bear on the last season of Alone, up in northern Saskatchewan, in that apparently Arctic Delta system, the winner, after like 80 something days out on the ice, was a Newfie or a Labradorian or something. Whatever he was, he couldn't say the TH sound, and he called his shelter a tilt, and he used words that I didn't know what they were, and he was married to an Inuit woman. But otherwise, he sounded like he was speaking Irish brogue all the time. He's like, okay, boys, let's go out and do a little fishing. I got an idea. And like everything he said sounded Irish. And they'd be like, I got to get in the tilt and put the T on. You know, I can't even do his accent. He sounded almost like Brad Pitt from Snatch. You know, he was just freaking.
You like Degs?
Yeah, you like Degs.
Eh.
But I guessed he would win when my wife and I, season 1, made guesses after they introduced all the people. Because I said, well, he lives in northern Labrador and he's married to an Inuit woman. So the chances are he's got a pretty good handle on living in the Arctic. You know?
I am here. I'm just eating my supper, gentlemen, so I'll turn the camera off.
That's okay.
Of your watchers.
But anywho, I don't know, if you like turn the camera on and you eat slowly and smack your lips, we might get an entirely different kind of audience.
I'd rather not, if that's okay with you.
And then you could open up like an OF page, watch a big guy eat slowly and smack his lips. I think you could make some money, man, honestly. Especially if every now and then you throw your bare feet up on the desk. Bear, you could be the next Amarath.
Don't want to be. That's okay.
Well, okay. I was just throwing options out there. You know me.
I appreciate the hustle.
Yeah, I'm an idea guy. 17-year-old Tom, man, so lucky, dark tan. The picture for this stream is my mom's Pom, who is about 14 or 15, and she's fat as shit now, so she weighs like 9 pounds. And as you can see in the picture, one of her favorite things in the world is burrowing through snow. So every time we get a couple feet of snow up on the mountainside, that dog is so happy. It wants to run out and just dig through it.
Yeah. I was kind of worried about my dog with the winter. I was afraid, I didn't know how she'd react, and she loved it. She just absolutely loved it. So
you can use her like that too.
Shark, I'll tell you why. And this is from the opinion of a religious guy. So I could be totally wrong, maybe. And I've heard the argument about evolution and this and that. But it is my opinion, dogs just were created by God because we needed something good in the world.
Hey, folks, how's it going?
Because everything else kind of is great. But dogs are, generally speaking, just a font of love and enjoyment. And, you know.
The only bad dogs are the ones that are raised bad.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's not a bad dog. It's a bad human.
Yeah.
Didn't know a Pom would live that long. I've heard Poms live in 20 years. It just depends if you keep their teeth clean. They're a good breed and you feed them right. You know, they can live forever, you know. Not forever, but they can live a long, long time. My Pom, because we decided to buy a show Pom, my first Pom, it had all of the congenital illnesses that the show quality Poms did. So he only lived about 12, 13 years. and then he had his trachea collapsed, and
That's something that drives me crazy about dog breeders. They should be breeding dogs to be better companions, to be more intelligent, not for these stupid aesthetic qualities that cause them horrific health problems.
Yeah,
and
don't
mine
don't
had
ever get a cocker spaniel then.
don't
God.
get a Cocker Spaniel. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Pretty, but dumb as fuck.
Or freaking Chihuahuas. Just because
My sister-in-law had a
the
Cocker
Chihuahua is the argument I'll make against there are no bad dogs.
Yeah, they're a little testy. They get a little testy.
I
Well,
worked.
that one guy that does all the videos about God creating dogs, Satan created the Chihuahua. Because Satan goes to heaven, he's like, hey, I got a religion now, so I think I get by the rules to make a dog, right? And the angels are like, no. And God's like, technically, he's right. And they're like, okay. And Satan hands this packet over, and the angel's like, wow, this is really well done. But what is a Chihuahua? And the guy's like, Chihuahua. And he's like, okay, traits, small. What do you mean by the rage of 10,000 angry men? And it was like going through the shakes uncontrollably. Why would, I just started, And so God's like, well, you know the rules. So they made the Chihuahua. He does videos where he's like dogs encountering the mailman, and for the Pomeranian, he's like, pet me. And the mailman pets him, and then the Pomeranian's like, no, fuck off. He's like, that's the Pomeranian attitude. He's like, pet me.
Yeah.
Say I'm pretty. Fuck yourself. But anyway, wolf blood is not good breeding.
My brother had a half wolf dog once. It was actually a really good
wolf.
dog.
I did too when I was a kid. It was like a half, like husky wolf, and I think he was huge. So I mean,
My red wolf was about 130 pounds.
It's a lot of dog.
The problem with him was because he's a male and a wolf, he was constantly wanting to buck up to see who could be the most dominant. So me and him had to get in a lot of fights. And because of how stubborn the bastards are, even once I proved who was dominant, it only lasted about a week, maybe two. And then he'd be right back to like walking into the living room, making eye contact with me and pissing on something. And then when I'd yell at him, he'd show all his teeth, and his fangs were a good 2.5 inch long. But I wasn't afraid of him. I'd run up and he'd be like, and I'd stick my forearm in his mouth and just look him right now and say, I dare you. And then he'd like, and back up a little bit because he'd be like, I don't know what to do now. Now, later he moved to Kentucky with my mom, where he loved it because he got to run around in snow and shit, which is what he wanted. And they got him castrated, and he went from being a total jerk ass to like this loving lap dog that just want to hang out. He's passed now, but that dog was 17 years old. Dog.
Bear, I wanted to ask, they've banned a bunch of breeds in Canada, haven't they?
Depends on the province.
Oh, it's by province?
Yeah.
Because that seemed really stupid to me.
America was supposed to be. It's like one country, but really it's like a bunch of little countries that are all part of kind of one country. So like a federation.
Confederation.
Or a confederation. Okay.
Yeah. It was a dominion, now it's a confederation.
Yeah, because America was supposed to be that way, where each state could just basically do whatever. But then after the Civil War, a side effect of freeing the slaves is we gave the federal government way too much power.
Well, during the entire Trudeau administration, he kept trying to act like he had all this power, and continually the provinces would remind him, no. And Quebec was always first in line to go, no, that violates this rule that we agreed on in this fucking treaty, so no.
Right.
It really pissed him off.
Which makes sense because you guys at one time were the colonial property of like two different major European powers. So, I mean,
New France eventually became Lower Canada. and the British territory became Upper Canada. And then after
Right.
your
So-
stupid War of Independence, the British were already in charge of Canada at that point in time after the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. So all of the British that were terrified of living under George Washington fled and flooded into Canada. And most of them were directed into Ontario, Upper Canada, but a fair number of them came to Lower Canada as well.
So the loyalists, you would call
The
them.
Loyalists, that's exactly what we call them, the Loyalists. Now we have this thing every year, it's called Loyalist Days, where, they sail ships and whatever, and we'll eat shit, Who gives
You
a
know
fuck?
what? I'm not offended by that. They were the loyalists.
No, I didn't say you would be.
I mean, no, I'm just saying Americans, we're really weird. If you talk about the Civil War, all of a sudden we want to call a certain group of 13 states just a bunch of traitorous scumbags. But you talk about the War of American Independence, and all of a sudden it's like,
Well,
everybody
that's the
forgets that
general
George
rule of
Washington
war.
was
It
leading the
depends if you
army
win.
of traitorous scumbags, against the rightful government of all the commies, which was the British.
Yeah, you're only a traitor if you lose.
That's it. You're only a traitor if you lose. So if you were the kind of guy that was a hardcore royalist and you saw the way the wind was turning in 1775 or before, then no one can blame you for skipping across the New York border into Canada or something, because, and then we invaded Canada and it didn't work out because, well, one town we took over, but no one there cared. So we just left. It's like the Canadians were just like, go home, hosers. And we're like, damn, okay, fine. You ain't got to be
Well,
nice about it.
Bye, Flynn.
Take care, man.
Have a great one, RPG Dad. Czechs introduced European wolf into Border Patrol program. Create the Czech wolf dog.
What?
They're too aloof to their human handlers. Yeah, if you win, Doc Flamingo. Yeah, it's not treason if you win. So, and to be honest, the only reason we won the American War of Independence is because England was being ruled over by a crazy senile king and a regent prince that was more concerned with eating Cornish pies and banging randos and spending way, way too much money on stupid shit. I mean, if the British had had a decent monarch at the time and hadn't put themselves into so much debt doing stupid shit under George IV, they probably easily could have crushed the commies.
Well, that's the ultimate failing of monarchy, is that it eventually degenerates. I mean, look at Rome. You've got Augustus, who was a man born for the job.
Right.
I mean, whatever you say about his particular picadillos and odd habits, he was a man born to rule. But then you get Tiberius and you get Caligula, because I mean, that's where it's going to go, especially when you add in the feature of, oh, you're a god too. That doesn't do good for anyone's mental health.
And I'm sure you've probably read your share of Roman history. The weird thing about him is he was actually good to the people.
For the most, he was very
He just had
popular
a
initially.
fucking hate on for his fellow nobles and senators or whatever.
Well, Caligula
It's
is
like he
weird because
despised them.
all the people who wrote about, like, for instance, all the stuff they say they use as like ammunition to say he was insane could also be interpreted as brilliant political theater. Like, for instance, the whole thing about the horse.
Sharp, never think it's because the French like America. It was just they really hated England.
That's not true at all, by the way.
The
French loved
Lafayette
America.
might have liked America, but they really hated the British.
The French loved America, and they loved the idea of using America to fuck with the British, absolutely. But they loved America.
Well, what happened?
Why do you think they gave you the Statue of Liberty? Because they were bored?
Well, yeah.
I don't know what to do, but I think I make a big statue out of copper and give it to America. Why? Something to do.
Well, we were taking in a lot of people at that time, but not only that, though, if you weigh the Statue of Liberty and then you multiply it by however much copper sells by, that thing's probably worth a shit ton of money. Because I mean, if toothless hicks are like trying to steal the copper out of my freaking cable lines, you know what I mean? There's got to be money in it, right?
It nearly got
as a term of endearment, because I know that to a lot of people, I am the hick. But yeah, that's a big problem in Pikeville. If you leave your house for more than 2 days, when you get back, every bit of copper
Holy mother of Jesus.
in the house will be gone.
The Statue of Liberty contains roughly 80 tons or 176,000 pounds of copper. All right, price per ounce. Copper price per ounce. The current price of copper. Let's find out. It is, well, it's $4.86 per pound currently. So not worth that much. Like $1 million. Hey, not worth that much then. No. Well, think about it, because if it's only 176,000 pounds, it's worth less. It's worth like half a million bucks. No.
Yeah, but that's just the material, man. That's a pretty big investment for the French back in like 19 something, you know?
Yeah, it's even worth $1 million bucks.
Yeah. They're like, let's
Better
get
just leave it in fucking New York Harbor.
precious metal. $1 million in semi-precious metal. Let's make a big, giant, glowy statue. Send it to America. Watch it turn green over time. And awesome. You know? Awesome.
I wonder if you could polish it up
right,
again.
because we were going to be a republic, and that was during the time when the French were really hating on monarchies. Like Napoleon and all that shit was selling us property all over Louisiana and everything to pay for his wars, like 1815, I think. I mean, I'm not an immigrant. People say I'm an immigrant. I'm not an immigrant. My people came here in 1740. This country didn't exist when my people were here. So when people are like, you immigrated from somewhere, I'm like, no, I didn't. United States did not exist when we were here. We were here before this country existed. We'll be here long after it's gone. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but that's just because the hardest thing to fucking kill in nuclear war are cockroaches, rats, and Appalachians.
Appalachians, that's a fact.
Well, looks like the nukes is flying, Jib. Let's head on down into them there caves.
Right?
We've been building down there. We got a whole underground bunker put about, I don't know, million and a half people down there. Be able to live fine for 200 years. Should be good.
I'm sure somebody's probably got a place that would be safe from nuclear attack that they've been using to cook meth. You just put the meth cooking off for a little while. You know, circle around to survival for a bit, and then you can go back to the meth cooking.
Listen, you figure out how to do the survival alongside the meth cooking.
Yep.
This is Appalachia, sir.
You need an industry, when you emerge finally.
They caught these one guys. They were cooking meth, and what they had done is they'd bought those 20 by whatever cargo containers you can buy for like $5,000, buried them.
Yeah, a
And
lot of
then
people
ran
make
a really
houses out of those.
intricate filtration system out of them, like a distance away, and all this shit. And that, like, there was like a hidden, like, giant rock that you had to move that had a staircase leading, like a ladder down into the place. And eventually they found it, but it was like a couple of freaking meth producers come up with this idea to basically build all this shit. But then again, meth will get shit done. I mean, if you're doing a lot of meth, you'll get a lot of work done before you fall over. Unless there's women around also doing meth, in which case all you'll do is have sex, because something about being on meth supposedly makes sex like crazy. Sad, really.
Yeah, but, meth teeth. Ugh.
Yep.
There's that.
That's why there's that YouTube channel or whatever. It used to not be a YouTube channel. It used to be just like a message board thing, though. And it was like the before and after. And it'd show like a 19-year-old girl, and she'd be really pretty. And then be like 5 years later, and she looked like fucking the Crypt Keeper, like 4 teeth and just.
Yeah. Does a number on your skin too. They get that weird.
Well, what that is the crystals in meth. When you smoke it, there's actual crystals, and they work themselves out through your body. And then, of course, you feel them trying to work themselves out, so you dig. And then you end up with these people with these like freaking sores all over. And then because, again, the meth has the crystals in it, when they're smoking it, those crystals are ripping the enamel off the teeth. Just basically abrading the enamel right off.
Well, I believe in crystal meth because I believe in me.
So, which is why the band Dexy's Midnight Runners, the ones that did Come On Eileen, had a strict rule about no drugs for anyone in the band. And Dexy's Midnight Runners was referring to meth addicts.
I thought it was. I thought that was ecstasy.
No,
Dexy.
it's meth addicts running around at midnight looking for more meth, but it's speed, and they had another name for it, like dextro, something. But the band members, who were all from Scotland, I think, they just called these junkies Dexy's Midnight Runners. Because they'd be out at all hours trying to get the hookup, Now, the movie that'll make you never want to go to Scotland is definitely Trainspotting.
Yep.
Yep. That was a happy film.
That is the movie where you're like, I am never going to Scotland. You couldn't pay me to go there. It depicts every Scotsman as basically the worst person ever.
You ever met me? I have.
I mean, I've never been there, but I mean, that movie, which was apparently made by people from the UK, depicts Scotland as like the worst place you could ever go. Like the one guy accidentally buys like 2 kilos of heroin from a Russian sailor, and then they don't know what to do with it. It's like, what? Oh, used her before meth pick online. Super brief meet. Yeah, I bet it. You got catfished by a meth head?
What's that?
I wouldn't tell that story out loud.
Yeah, they can't see it.
Well, you got to lean over a little bit. You can walk right here.
Yeah, well, I'm also big, and there's fragile shit in here.
Well, including me. Don't fall on me. Oh, they saw your forehead. When he posts as Rob Copeland. But I always call him BRC, which is short for Big Rob Copeland, because what are you, like 6'2", 6'3"?
6'2",
Yeah, he's a big guy.
400 pounds.
400 pounds. Jesus Christ.
And I surprisingly get around well for that weight.
But you don't look super obese. How are you 400 pounds?
You must be strong as shit, too.
Yeah.
But I have job site strength.
Yeah, I mean, you're always out in the sun in Florida working construction and shit. What's going on with you? Anyway. Yeah, so one of my players is showing up. We'll see. Poor Daryl. It's like that commercial where the guy's talking to his grandma, and his grandma's showing off, this is my dating profile pic, and it's like a 20-year-old hottie, and the guy's like, Grandma, how do you sleep at night? Just fine on a whatever the brand name is, mattress, It's like
A Sealy Posturpedic.
it's like Grammy is catfishing the shit out of people over here. It's like, calm down, Grandma. But yeah, I love it. But yeah, so Let's characters healing up, and they had a big info dump on whatever the hell he's doing in his 5e game, and we'll see what my players are going to do tonight, because half of them are like having fought their entire way down to the lower caverns of this hidden crypt. now half of them at least are like, I don't want to ever go back. Like they escaped out and they're like, yeah, I don't know if I ever want to go there again. So it's like, all right. I mean, you know, I can come up with something worse for them. It's like, prepare for punishment. They'll get a mage will like zap them into his own dungeon, and they'll have to play a game called the Mind Flare games. Right? Where anyway, no, that'd be silly, but unfortunately for them, they are going to, even though the good news is their characters will survive, the bad news is the main good treasure down there, a lot of people might say it's the lamp of whatever, which is an artifact, but that thing's so difficult to actually use. Who gives a shit, right? But there's like a copy of every one of the manuals down there. So the manual of fitness, the manual of exercise, the manual of freaking, you know, gainful study, the manual of, you know.
Puissant skill at arms.
It's got all the manuals that let you study and then raise an attribute.
Yeah, one of them is the manual of Puissant skill at arms. That's how I learned what the word puissance means.
Oh, yeah, which is French for like strong, right?
Strength, yes. Ability.
How I remember it is, it's the name of the Bruja discipline under Potence.
Croissants.
The highest level, yeah, is Puissance. Which is the point where you're no longer a vampire, you're a superhero, and you can pick a dump truck up and chuck it half a block at somebody's head.
It's a masquerade breach.
Definitely, if somebody sees you do it, 100%.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, another vampire could go, well, that was 100% a breach of the masquerade. Well, there were no humans around. You don't know.
You do not know. Plus, in the modern day, a lot of storefronts and shit got cameras.
Yeah.
So when the manager comes in the next day and checks the overnight camera to see if anything crazy happened, and sees some punk ass pick up a freaking garbage truck and chuck it down the block, he's going to be like, I think I'll call the cops.
I don't think you'd have to do that because I think the cops would be out investigating the dump truck that just got thrown into another building last night and killed a guy. So now we're going to check all the ring camera footage along the street to see if we can figure out what the fuck happened.
Right. I mean, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. That's the end of that. That's not a good thing. Cops are going to be looking for you. Which happened to my character. I told you it happened to my character. My character got found out. And I had to flee and hide. And everything I owned, basically, and my alter ego and everything was destroyed. So I was no longer James Ryder, the occult professor that taught courses at UCF and wrote books about, you know, ghosts and shit like that. I no longer had a mansion in Windermere. I no longer had a nice I-Series freaking BMW or whatever, Mercedes. Like all gone, everything gone. Bank account gone, everything gone. Me hiding in the woods, you know, Order of Leopold trying to find me.
Leopold.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny when one guy's walking up with to conduct the
Leopold.
There must have been a real guy named Leopold that was really good at conducting operas. For them to have done that, you know what I mean?
I've always wondered about conductors. If the conductor just died in the middle of the performance, would you notice anything?
Apparently,
Other than the guy falling over dead.
I used to think that too, and I actually looked it up, and apparently the conductor is incredibly important because he keeps all the different sections on the same time.
Okay.
Because, you know, if you're dealing with a rock band, you got 3-piece, maybe a 4-piece. You've got the drummer, and he's keeping the rhythm, and everybody's kind of going along with the drummer's rhythm, right? But you got 200 people on all
Okay,
kinds
that
of
makes
instruments in there. I mean, if you ain't got somebody directing that shit, it can get out of hand real quick. And that is why conductors make the big money.
And have a lot of power. They have a lot of power.
Well, I mean, yeah, they can roll into like the London Philharmonica and just start telling people what to do.
Philharmonic.
Philharmonic, then.
I like the idea of the London Philharmonica, though.
It's
This guy
200
Phil sitting on the side of the street in London.
There's a couple of bluesmen just hanging out.
That's the London Philharmonicas. Two
Hey.
guys named Phil. They play harmonica. It's pretty groovy.
You know, I love the blues man. That's why when I play Mansion of Madness, I always pick Jim Culver, the blues man. And even though some people might say I'm being racially insensitive as a, you know, super pink white guy playing a black blues band from Louisiana, I say F you guys. That's my favorite character, and I'm going to play him every time.
I say,
And if it offends anybody, well, I'm going to play him extra hard next time. Like, I might even start trying to talk like a 1920s black blues man from the Delta during game, just to piss people off, because I don't care. If I want to play the black dude, I'm playing the black dude. I don't care. But no, I just love the guy because he's got a golden trumpet. Before I even knew his attributes, I knew I liked him because the miniature, he's wearing like the suit, you know, like Robert Johnson, but he's got a trumpet instead of a guitar, and he can see ghosts. So when he's not doing things to try and stop, you know, Cthulhu cults from ruining everything, he hangs out in the above ground cemeteries in New Orleans, and he plays music to the ghosts. That, you know, whatever they request, he sits down there and he plays them, you know, some bugle or trumpet music, you know, whichever one has the things on the top.
Trumpet.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just, to me, hey, what's up, Jax? How you doing? To me, that is just really cool. I love the idea of it. Figaro, yeah, Bugs, and yeah.
Welcome to my shop. Let me cut you a mop.
You know what? It is a fact that old school Bugs Bunny probably taught a lot of kids more about culture than modern kids will know. Because, yeah, we did know Figaro, and we knew, you know, when he was making who was it? Bugs Bunny kept making them sing louder and louder, and the guy's holding the thing, and it's like, suit pops off, and he's just like, I mean, yeah, Bugs Bunny.
That was my introduction to opera.
I know. I mean,
What's
opera,
Doc?
Doc?
What's opera, Doc?
you know, it's that guy, Mel Blanc. I know everybody knows this, but like when he went into a coma, and then people were talking to him, and he started answering back as Bugs Bunny. That's kind of how they got him out of his coma, as they started. And then he come out of the coma, and he's good. And he ended up voicing all those 100 different characters. Like
yeah, he went for a long time. He was working into the 80s, wasn't he?
40s or 30s, all the way up to like.
Yeah, he made it to the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a shit ton. James, have you ever played the game Solid? No. A die 20 blaxploitation. See, I didn't need that to do that, Bruce, because I played Recon Advanced, and my brother played a blaxploitation character whose name was Tyrone Katunga Brown from Detroit, and he was the pig man, so he carried the M60, and he refused to wear his helmet because he said it effed with his fro, and he always said his character had like a black power pick stuck into the side of his fro. So he was that guy, like Shaft or Black Dynamite, before we knew about.
Is that the Palladium Recon?
Yeah, but it's.
I have that coming in the mail, actually.
But his best friend, because he's my brother, was my character, who was a hillbilly from Eastern Kentucky that had a Confederate flag stitched to his freaking side of his helmet, and I was the point man. So my job was always to go in front of the rest of the group and spot tunnels and ambushes. And his job was to lay down fire with that M60, right? So we had that weird kind of Full Metal Jacket kind of thing going on where you got like, you know, the should be super racist hillbilly from Kentucky, but his best buddy is the hardcore black nationalist from Detroit. And yeah, we both died in a tunnel system, needless to say, at a point, because that game's incredibly deadly. And, you know, yeah. As a matter of fact, the guy who stuck his head in BRC was running it. He also got me into White Wolf games back in the day. And how he and I become friends is so weird. I was hanging out at our local comic shop playing Magic, and he was playing Magic. And so we just started playing Magic together. And then, like, one time his dad couldn't pick him up, and he was like, hey, where do you live? And I was like, you know, St. Cloud. And he was like, can you give me a ride home? And I'm like, yeah. That's like 30 years ago. Like 96, you know, when Magic came
And his
out.
dad's still late to pick him up.
Well, his dad was out getting milk.
Again, what?
Getting milk. My biological dad, say hi. He left to get milk too when I was like 5. Bear, that's a joke about fathers abandoning.
Yeah, we do the gun for cigarettes joke.
Went never to the store. Never came. Reason. Stain. You never went. Basically, a scumbag. All right, shut up. I don't like you anymore. Maybe I'm taking it too personally, though. But yeah, he's definitely the bad guy in his own story. Yes, I am having storms around my house because I live in the storm/lightning capital of the entire damn world. Florida gets like not a trillion. We get a shit ton of lightning strikes every year. Like, it makes pretty much everyone else look like they don't even know. Advanced Recon is a good game. And it is published by Palladium, but before Nerdy Ogre or anyone gets too excited, it is not the Palladium system at all. Like, at all. It's actually a percentile system. So, but anyway, yep, that's why I've always despised Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, fucking Bruce Springsteen's a scumbag. I used to work at the Knitting Factory in New York, which was like, it's ostensibly a jazz club, but it's really everything. And like a lot of like celebrities would go there periodically. Bruce Springsteen came in there one night, stuck the bartender for like a $300 tab. Oh, I forgot my wallet. I'll come in tomorrow and pay it. I promise. Never did it. Dirtbag.
Like I said, I think he's a dirtbag because he abandoned his wife and kids in Baltimore. Of course, he never should have been in Baltimore, because why would anybody want to live in Baltimore? But anyway.
I don't know why anybody go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Here's the wreckage of our bridge.
Yeah, you know, it's like,
I don't even like driving through there.
it's like people who still insist in living in Philadelphia. I am convinced it's because they don't have enough money to go anywhere. What's up, homie? They're all out on the back porch. They're out on the back porch with the other ones.
Okay.
Mothman shirt. That's cool. Hey, one of Appalachia's finest right there, Mothman.
I had to eat some bacon. I was hungry. Me and Bear talked for about 2 hours with Janet.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to warn you that some bad shit's getting ready to happen.
Hello, chat. Yeah, we stay in Detroit because it's better than being in California.
It's better than being in California. Yeah. That's the thing I don't understand. It's like when people talk about my bro Jay Scott, the craziest thing Jay Scott Garrity actually does is live in Philadelphia. Like all of his other shit is pretty crazy, but the fact that he chooses to live in Philadelphia, that's the craziest thing. It's like, dude, you could literally go anywhere.
I mean, you got other guys that live
Florida
in
kicks
Philadelphia,
ass.
and they're kind of making it okay.
So
One of our best friends, one of my old players, he lives over there, but I mean, it's mainly work related.
yeah, I guess. I mean, I think that Hank, what's his name, that did Index Card, whatever, he's either in Philly or Baltimore.
Philadelphia annoys me because they always go on about their famous cheesesteaks. It's freaking Steakums and Cheese Whiz, not
Literally,
cuisine.
literally. It's like
Nothing to
if
be
you go
proud
to a
of.
restaurant where else in the country and order a cheesesteak, it is 100% guaranteed to be better than anything you're going to get as a traditional Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I'm hot opinion here. An American pizza for me is much more preferable than anything pizza-wise out of Italy. Italy has some great bread, don't get me wrong, but I don't like traditional Italian pizzas. Not for me.
Well, I mean, are we talking about tomato pie?
Yeah, basically it's tomato pie on bread.
Yeah.
And the way it's supposed to be, the Americans that came over here, they basically were like, well, I need to make money, so I'll just sell these bread pieces, and I'll take the leftover or the getting ready to spoil pepperoni, and I'll put that on there. And that became a big thing in the island. And now that's the standard for American pizza is a pepperoni pie.
Well, yeah, I saw a whole thing Alton Brown did, and I trust Alton Brown when he says something about food, right? And it was basically that Italian immigrants in New York were making so much money compared to Italy, where they come from, and meat was so cheap and plentiful that they just started throwing meat and shit on stuff that they never would have thrown meat on back in Italy because they couldn't
Never.
afford it. So you
traditional-
ended up with lasagna stuffed full of sausage and ground beef and the Italian, what do they call it? The Italian sandwich that you got like lean.
the Reuben?
The one where you got to lean like way back to eat it because it's going to drip all over you if you don't.
Oh. I know
The
what you're talking
Italian
about.
beef. Because they make a beef and cheese sandwich and then they take it with tongs and dip it into anjou sauce. The whole sandwich.
Yeah.
And then they put it on the thing and hand it to you. So there's an actual technique where you put your elbows on the counter, lean as far back as you can, and then eat the sandwich, so that all of everything will just fall down all over you. I mean, yeah, it was basically Italians are like, holy shit, look at all this meat, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Let's open restaurants and we'll make meatballs and we'll throw pepperoni on everything, salami on every damn thing. I mean, food that in Italy you had to be wealthy to eat in America is just every day. That is Tuesday.
No, that's just how it is here, though. I mean, we have abundant land. We have places to grow plants to where we can do agriculture, right? I don't know how else to say it.
Well, a lot of it is too. It's during the time when so many Italians were fleeing to America, their government was so corrupt that it was like literally.
Was so corrupt, you say?
Well, I mean, that it was literally just making it hard for people to live.
Couldn't live
You
over there.
know? And then they come to America, they get a job, riveting freaking I-beams on some skyscraper somewhere. They're
Bridge.
making way more money than they ever dreamed that they could ever make. And meat is dirt cheap down at the market. Next thing you know, you got a couple of guys and they're hanging out being like hamburger, 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 cheeseburger, cheeseburger, Coke.
That's the Greeks.
Yeah, those were the Greek guys. And that was all. Their whole menu was hamburger, cheeseburger, Coke.
No fries, chips.
Huh?
No fries, chips.
Yeah, no fries, chips. Yep.
I'm
And
a
that
big
was it.
fan of
And
the
they
Reuben.
served it on a piece of butcher paper.
Reuben's a Jewish sandwich, sir.
I'm a big fan of the Reuben, and I'm a big fan of the Rachel. Both of those
Yeah,
are
the
Jewish.
Reuben is what happens when Polish Jews move to America and then get access to all this stuff. And they're like, all right, let's throw us a sandwich together. And they do. And I love myself a good Reuben. The place down the street makes what they call a wet Reuben because they put sauteed onions on it. But I always order mine dry because I'm a traditionalist. I don't need the sauteed onions. Just give me the corned beef sandwich. As a matter of fact, hold the Thousand Island too, because the
Can't
corned
stand
beef
that Thousand Island.
and the sauerkraut are good enough on the marbled rye that I don't need anything else. It's like we've talked about, Bear, the guy that goes in and wants a pastrami on rye with mayonnaise, and you're just like, what the?
What the fuck did you do with the why is the mayonnaise on there?
It's like everyone knows pastrami on rye with spicy deli mustard. That's it. That's the acceptable way to eat pastrami.
That's what we like to call a Goyim special.
Yeah. So yeah, anything with mayonnaise, basically, unless it's tuna salad. Then
You know what makes those pastrami on rye a little bit better?
what's that?
Bacon.
Well, I mean, bacon makes everything good. I remember the first time in my whole life I had like a bagel with cream cheese and bacon on it, and I was just like, oh my god. It was like, I better not share this with any of my Jewish friends because they'll stop being Jewish. Like in an instant. They'll be like, yeah, F all that. Bagel with cream cheese and bacon is one of the most delicious things you're going to eat. A nice toasted everything bagel, a good smear of cream cheese, and then like 2 or 3 pieces of fried bacon on that thing. Bam. Oh my God.
You know how I know you actually do have Jewish ancestry?
Well, culturally, yes. How?
Yeah, you said schmear. A good schmear of cream cheese. Hey, now that's a sandwich.
Well, and I told you my pops calls me a mensch because of all the things I've done. I'm a mensch. A good guy, basically.
Yeah, my ex and I very nearly bought a
you
deli a couple years ago,
Oh,
but
okay.
we decided not to because we couldn't get anybody to like cook during the day. We were like, it was really cheap, but and we were so lucky we didn't do it because COVID hit right after that, and the place wound up getting closed.
Yeah, that would have not been a good thing, but yeah, schmear, putz, scoop, Jew canoe.
What a schmuck this guy is. What is this guy about with the schmuckery?
Everybody always wants to say oy vey, but if it's really bad, it's oy gewalt.
I gewalt.
Oy gewalt,
I gewalt.
which is actually German. Oy vey is German for oh whoa, oy vey, oh whoa. But it doesn't matter because it's Yiddish too. Like Leth and I were talking about it earlier about like ancient Hebrew. And it's like, yeah, there were no vowels in ancient Hebrew. And he's like, well, what about the dots? Yeah, not in ancient Hebrew. The dots were added later. So if you look at a name like Sarah, it would be an S and R. And yeah, maybe an H if it's spelled with an H. S-R-H. That's how you would spell that. So how do you say that? Beats the hell out of me, man. Because you got one symbol and it looks like a bowl with like an arm on it. And if the arm coming up is on the right side, it's a different letter than if it's coming up on the left side. But then depending on if it's got a T 3 dots, 2 dots, or a line. It can be see, say, sue, so, or if the arm's on the air side, she, shay, shoo, show. But if there's no dots, then you're sitting there saying, is that an S or an SH sound? And then where do we go from there? You know, kind of like Abraham's original name was actually Abram. It was not Abraham. It was Abram.
Well, now it's Abramowitz.
Abramovich. Yeah. Well, I told you that when my dad's grandparents came to America, their real name was like Zvolenetzik or something like that. And then somehow they become Simonson when they were coming through the island. They went from their Russian last name to like Simonson. Like, how did that happen? Who knows?
I still think Jon Stewart had the best line about his grandfather who came through at Ellis Island. He said, my grandfather was super racist. When he arrived at Ellis Island, as soon as he signed the paper, he said, is that it? Am I an American now? And they said, yes. He turned around to everybody in line behind him and went, get out of my country, you foreign bastards. So we're having Passover, and Grandpa at the end of the table, 75 years old, clears his throat, and we all stop and listen because Grandpa's about to say something. What wisdom do you have for us, Obi-Wan? And he says, Chinese are very sneaky.
You know what's funny though is that if you look at the calendars, weren't the Chinese around 6,000 years total? The Jewish calendars go back about 3,000 years.
No,
Jewish
Jewish calendars go back
5,000
almost
years.
6K.
Yeah.
Wait, what? How's it go?
It's about
About
5,000
6
years
days
for the
from now.
Jewish calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, the current year is like 5840 something.
Can you guys believe that there was Jewish people that went around without Chinese food?
on Christmas Day? See, you gotta wait till Jesus was born. Otherwise, why would the Jews need Chinese food?
Exactly. This is what I used to call my Jewish Christmas in Montreal, which was every time Christmas Day would roll around. I'm not working that day. I had no family. Let's go to a movie and have Chinese food. It was great. But now all these fucking millennial families are all fucking atheists and agnostics, and they don't go to church anymore. So on Christmas Day, they bring their spawnlings to the fucking cinema. So the theater's full of fucking screaming 8-year-olds on Christmas Day. Fuck, ruined Jewish Christmas, they did.
So the one day you could have peace, they took it away.
One fucking day, Karen was in her house with her fucking spawn. Nope. Fuck that.
Sandwich.
Havarti is a delicious cheese, sir.
Oh, Havarti is one of my
Havarti,
absolute favorite
peppers,
cheeses.
Mustard.
Yeah, I had to have that. I was frying it up before I came in here, and I'm like, my stomach is growling louder than my need to socialize.
Well, yeah, Havarti is a cheese I've grown very familiar with because apparently it's like the main kind of cheese I guess they make in Denmark.
I feel
So
bad.
since I
Someone
married a Dane,
responsible,
guess
Bruce.
what? I know what Havarti is now.
I feel responsible, Bruce, for your food needs because I was talking about my steak and eggs that I had for supper.
Whereas prior to Havarti,
Steaks.
the cheese I ate the most in my life growing up was called government cheese.
I've got a block or two of that in my refrigerator from time to time
Right?
in my
My
life.
grandpa would go down to the place and you signed your name on the little list and they gave you like this giant block of freaking yellow cheese. I don't
In
know
that brown
American
cardboard
cheese,
box.
maybe? Yeah, a plain cardboard box that just said cheese.
But didn't it make like the best grilled cheese sandwiches?
Oh, it was the
That's
best.
the
That
best.
shit was great, man.
Good God, we all launched forward. It's the best grilled cheese.
And it wasn't necessarily just a welfare thing, it was a surplus thing.
No, it was because the government was paying fucking farmers for their production, right? That's
For
how whole
dairy.
documentary about government cheese. It's
The
amazing.
dairy
That's why
never-
it doesn't exist anymore.
Dairy is never a money market. It's
So-
never exactly somewhere you can go and you can make like a mint with it. Like dairy is a subsidized crop or department of agriculture, so much to the point where we were paying dairy farmers millions and millions of dollars out of the budget for cheese. And then in the 80s, we had the Got Milk campaign. The government came out. They have a department of the government that actually they were selling cheese surplus to Domino's and Papa John's and Pizza Hut. You remember all the cheese pizza specials back in the early 90s? That's all because of this shit. There's an entire Fat Electrician video where he talks about the cheese bunkers under America. There's like 25 cheese warehouses underground where there's billions of pounds of cheese.
I've heard of that.
It is fucking nuts. I've been to a couple of them thanks to Prime Incorporated, because Joplin, Missouri is just kind of centrally located.
Yeah, we had basically it was just the government building, and sometimes, this is back when everybody got their news from reading like local newspapers, they would say that they would have so much surplus cheese there, and all you had to do is go and sign your name so that they knew you weren't like getting more than your one thing. Yeah. And they'd hand you a giant ass block of cheese. This thing must have weighed 5 pounds. And it was in just kind of like how the generic beer comes in a white can and just
white can with beer on the side of it. And it's sold in a plain brown cardboard box for a 12-pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a plain cardboard pack that said cheese on it. But yes, it made amazing grilled cheese sandwiches, cheese and eggs. Pretty much whatever you were happy enough to have, throw cheese on it. It'll be fine, you know?
There's that really soft American, and it wasn't pre-sliced, so you can cut it exactly the thickness you wanted. It was nice.
Oh, it went on a good bologna sandwich, and my grandparents bought the bologna unsliced. Ooh. So when they went to the store and they bought, as they call in the old country, Dr. Sausage, that shit would be like a 5 or 10 pound.
Hey, who told them my secret sex room name?
It'd be like a giant 5 or 10 pound tube of bologna. So however hungry you are, how thick you cut it.
Yes, Dr. Sausage. That's me. How you doing?
That's cool, but actually the name started in Russia.
Well, that's because they took Love Sausage for the comic book, so I couldn't say Dr. Sausage.
That is true. They hired an American who had set up a bologna factory in America to go to the Soviet Union and set up bologna factories. And he was named Dr. Something. So instead of calling it bologna, they just called it Dr. Sausage. Doctor's Sausage. And that's why if you eat Russian potato salad, 99% of the time there's cubed bologna in it.
Because no, what I love that
bologna and everything.
That you can finally get. Used to only be able to get it in New Jersey, but it's starting to show up everywhere now. Taylor ham. Good
too
stuff.
Salty. That. But we caught it poor man's steak. Like if you had nothing else but eggs and bologna, well, you fried some bologna. Couple eggs.
I've never been a bologna guy. I've never liked that. Even as a kid, I hated bologna.
If you cut the bologna the right thickness when you fry it, just not too thin, not too thick, and it gets nice and crispy on the outside with a little bit of garlic salt, it's amazing.
Yeah. And then whereas Bear was talking about grilled cheese, well, I mean, fried bologna grilled cheese sandwich.
You know that's the way to make a grilled cheese with ham in there.
Well, we didn't have ham, but you know what we did have? Bologna. Because like a 5-pound tube of bologna back in the day was like $1.
Oh, I feel bad now. You set me up for a good joke, and I'm so focused on playing Civilization, I only thought of it after it was too late. You said, we didn't have ham back then. You know what we did have? My answer should have been love.
Love.
We were poor, but we had love. That's the one thing Daddy made sure of. Come on, let's do Coal Miner's Daughter, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, she was from that area.
She was.
Loretta Lynn and her sister, Crystal Gale.
Crystal Gale was beautiful.
Crystal Gale sang like, "Don't It Turn My Brown Eyes Blue," and
She also was Art Bell's favorite singer.
Yeah, she went a different way. Like her country was almost like smooth jazz country.
Yeah, Blue Bayou. Didn't she do Blue Bayou?
No, Blue Bayou was someone
Linda
else.
Ronstadt.
Yeah,
Well, that was
Linda
a cover. I
Ronstadt.
think
Great
Linda
song.
Ronstadt covered it. I don't think it was her song.
Blue Bayou.
I'm going back one day. Roy Orbison's version of that is amazing.
Roy
Well, Roy
Orbison's version of
Orbison.
anything is amazing.
I'll take Roy Orbison over anybody in modern pop culture.
Okay, but that's not hard.
I mean, if we're going to speak honestly, like the guy has a lot of lessons that can be taught nowadays.
Well, you know who else would take Roy Orbison over just about everyone in pop culture?
The Traveling Wilburys?
The Traveling Wilburys, who, you know, every
Jeff
single
Lynne.
member of that band was somebody of note.
Yeah, Jeff Lynne told a story I saw in an interview where they gave him Roy Orbison's number when they were setting that up, and they called him and hung up on him 4 times because he was so nervous.
So nervous stuck there.
Every time he came to the phone, he would just like freak out and hang the phone up.
The one song, I don't know the name of it, but like the chorus is, it's all right.
End of the line.
That's the one where after Roy Orbison had died, but his chair and his guitar are still.
guitar was
Yeah, and it's got a picture of him in the chair. Yeah. Brings tears to my fucking eyes every time I see that fucking video.
All right.
You know, there's
And you've got Tom Petty breaking down the hook every time. Tom Petty, a guy who was told by the record industry he would never be anything and he should just give it up because he was too ugly and he sounded too weird to be a rock star.
fucking
And he
Tom
put
Petty.
out Damn the Torpedoes, and everybody was like, wait a minute. This Florida boy's got some chops. We kind of like what he's slinging over here.
You know who I didn't expect to be a one-hit wonder?
Yeah.
What?
You know who I did not expect to be a one-hit wonder was Oliver Anthony.
Who?
He was a one-hit wonder because he made himself a one-hit wonder.
Who the fuck is Oliver Anthony?
He's
He
the
made
guy
that
from
song last year.
Richmond, north of Richmond.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, well,
But
he
then
didn't want
when
anything to do
people
with it.
tried to grab onto him and be like, hey, do this and do that, and I'll help you do, he got all weird. And then he was like, I don't like Trump. And then he's like, well, actually, Trump's okay. And then he's like he said a bunch of stupid shit. And eventually everybody's like, oh, so you're an idiot. And that was the end of him.
That's kind of, everybody's an idiot. I mean, nobody quite understands that. But this guy here, I don't think he ever even got a publicist.
A rap mogul, and not Diddy, tried to pay him to cut an album. Dude said no. Turned down $10 million.
Huh? Great work if you can get it.
Yeah, I don't know what is. I mean, he put out this song that everybody was like, damn, that's a banger. That's a summer anthem and shit.
I watched a couple of his live concerts. They were good.
And then he said a bunch of stupid shit at one of his live concerts. He came out as being super anti-Republican. And that was the end of him. Because the thing he didn't understand is the song that made him famous only appealed to one side of the aisle.
Yeah.
Like the elitist, moneyed swamp Democrats are not going to dig a song calling.
Oh, that
them
was
out.
amazing when that song started getting big. All these different, like the networks and all those like Huffington Post and all these rags were like, how do we portray this as evil?
Yeah. How do we
It's
portray this guy as racist?
It was absolutely
Was
bizarre.
sad.
They worked their asses off to make him a racist. It turned out he was just a recovering alcoholic that worked construction and liked to stand in the woods and sing. And the guitar he used is a very specific instrument to Appalachia. If you look at it, it's got like that metal sheet on it.
Mm-hmm.
The Dover, yeah, it's a very hillbilly instrument. You generally don't see that, you know.
When he started talking smack about Trump, I was like, okay, you can be an idiot, but just don't fade. Don't fucking get out of the limelight because you're making good music. And he fucking did like 2 or 3 live performances on the tube. And then after that, like he just tried staying away from cameras and he tried repairing himself a little bit through whatever social media he was using. And that didn't work out well. And it just sucks because like he had this song that one half of America saw as an anthem. And
Yeah,
most of America,
it is a matter, as I think Bear said this to somebody a couple of days ago. Learn to read the room. If you put out a song calling all of the incumbent, entrenched politicians in DC a bunch of douchebags, read the room. Understand who's going to like that.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And it was like, I mean, he's pro legalization. You know what? He could have got away with that. Hell, a lot of Republicans are pro legalization these days.
most vets are all pro legalization because fuck, how many of us got pain? It's
Right.
cheaper to go through fucking Corner Kid to buy a fucking dime or nickel bag than it is to go to the VA and try to weasel another percentage to fucking help your prescriptions out.
Yeah, I don't even know. I think Trump's probably pro legalization.
I think he is.
But regardless, I got to take off because my group is mostly here. So
Bye.
bye.
Have a good night,
one.
James. Have fun
Later,
rolling
gents.
dice.
Yeah, rolling dice and eating
Later,
dry
everybody.
matzahs in the dark.